Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wake Up Missoula. I am your host, Scott Ramp. It is such a beautiful day in the city of Missoula, as you can see behind me, and I got a lot to talk about today. Let's kick things off. I do have a little bit of weather I'd like to share with you guys as well. Currently, it's looking like it's going to be fairly cold this week, with highs into the 60s, and it's going to only get colder and colder. Of course, it did rain. It had a flash rain last night. Today, currently, it is 39 degrees outside. It felt a little warmer outside, in my opinion, but your high is going to be 60. It's going to be a mostly sunny day. Tonight, it's going to be partly cloudy. Thursday, you have a mixture of rain and snow mixtures with a high of 52. Friday night, it's going to be mostly sunny. With Friday night, we have the 30% chances of showers as we transition into Saturday. And then, of course, if you look a little bit further, Saturday night it looks like it's a high chance of showers on your Saturday night. So if you guys aren't doing anything this weekend, our Saturday drop-ins are great for kids to have some indoor activity fun. There's some shameless plugging for you guys as well. So let's kick things off. I keep on saying kick things off because I just kicked things off with the weather. Let's continue on with a little bit of news. The University of Montana is facing nearly $1 million in penalties for reporting inaccurate and misleading crime statistics on everything from liquor violations to rape from 2012 to 2015, according to a letter from the U.S. Department of Education. UM will dispute this case since UM worked with the Department of Justice back in 2013-2015 era. A UM campus has not released certain items into public record because of student privacy and only released those via permission through city officials. The Clery Act requires all colleges and universities that participate in federal finance aid programs to keep and disclose information about crime on and near the respective campuses. Basically, a student, back in 1986, a student was raped, but the campus didn't actually report on this, so they had some civil penalties, and since 1990, the Clery Act was put into place, and the agency may impose a maximum of $35,000 for each violation that took place in Missoula from October 2nd, 2012 to November 2nd, 2015. Violations were misreported from those times. For example, in its 2013 report, UM omitted 18 crime statistics, including forcible sexual offense, as a penalty of $35,000, and 14 burglaries, which is at $5,500 each. Basically, I already said basically, the campus already cleaned up the mess from the 2009 to 2011, which highlighted rape cases from Jordan Johnson to Bo Donaldson. In the 2013 report, UM initially reported that the forcible sexual offenses, and after review, it added one. According to data in a letter, in its 2015 report, it reported 0 rapes and added 6 upon review. So there's still a lot of reports that were adjusted. Of course, many things that happen is that a lot of times the university tries to handle a lot of their stuff on campus and within house, and of course things change, and a lot of times because of that could also affect the reports that they bring to the Clery Act. Okay, so that's kind of what the UM is working with right now. In the state, Mike Pence stopped in Bozeman campaigning for Matt Rosendale. Tuesday in Bozeman around noonish. He started a little bit late. Trump Jr. actually visited last week in Bozeman, but with this week, folks from both political spectrums came to support while others protested. Much of what Mike Pence talked about was testers shouldn't serve more than 2 terms, and that unemployment is down significantly. Protesters also took the liberty to talk about Brett Kavanaugh, who is currently under FBI investigation. All the attention comes because Tester is one of the several Democratic senators up for re-election in red states. The president has been campaigning for Republicans in many of the red states that have Democratic senators, and they're hoping to flip them to give Republicans greater control in the Senate. Of course, in national news, we're not necessarily talking about Brett Kavanaugh, but we're talking about the void that was left in the Supreme Court, since there's only 8 Supreme Court justices. Just like the beginning of 2016 term, only 8 justices sat on the bench when Chief Justice John Roberts opened the court. After sudden death of conservative Judge Scalia, Senate Republican leaders Mitch McConnell held up President Barack Obama's nomination of Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court for almost a year, leaving the court with 8 members until newly elected presidents could fill the seat. So this is the problem with having 8 Supreme Court justices, is that right now they're half and half. Half are liberal, half are conservatives, basically a sitcom. And the whole idea is that if all their votes are tied, usually the court below them, they usually go by that ruling. So if the Supreme Court is undecided, then that means no more trials can go through them. So then they kind of get stopgapped at that point. So one of the examples right now is that next week the Supreme Court will look at the rights of immigrants, because the law pertains to federally U.S. law, and there's no official ruling in regards to bond hearings for folks who are not U.S. citizens. So they're going to be talking about immigration rights. So far, Supreme Courts are looking for a partisan to make decisions are becoming harder and harder since there is no odd number of votes. So that's kind of what's happening within the Supreme Court, because they just started their session this week. So that's kind of what's happening in and around the news that kind of caught my eye, and you guys can check all that out. Go on NPR. You can go to the Billings Gazette, and I looked up that information about the university from the Missoulian. So there's some of the sources from Missoula to Missoula. So if you guys are interested, you can check out all those links and more. But of course, here's a bunch of new programs going to be airing on MCAT. We'll kick things off with Frenchtown, where they're talking about Smurfit-Stone.
To hear more about how some of those issues, like the burrows, the trees, I think was an undercut berm, how that could affect seepage or stability of the berms. And it just, and it seems like this is something we can actually see, not, we can't see the toxins out there, but we can see the condition of the berm, and I think that's a really high interest to everybody just based on the discussion tonight. So just wanted to throw that out as maybe making that kind of a highlight of the field trip.
As David pointed out, there's areas where there's absolutely no vegetation, and this is a time of year that there would be vegetation, and so it might be handy to also point those areas out as well.
And so one of the tragedies of being a teacher is that sometimes you pour more into the class than the students are able to receive. But it's like planting seeds. When life begins happening, those seeds begin to bear fruit. And that's the way I think of my education. I think of it as a radicalism. People think Western Civ, Great Books education, is so stuffy and conservative and reactionary. But to me, it remains my radicalism, because capitalism and the meritocracy push us towards success, a certain version of happiness. Whereas Western Civ and the great books, Aristotle, Kant, George Eliot, they teach in the exact opposite direction. They give you an ethos that goes against the natural ethos. And so what did my teachers give me? And what do they give us? And what do great teachers give students? First, they welcomed us into a tradition of scholars. We were little peons at the end of a long conversation that stretched back centuries, and we were barely worthy to be in the room, but we were part of the great convecation.
Did you guys hear about the new anime Wolf Children? Look at these new designer glasses. Guys, what's that? Oh my god, it's so cute!
Are you dumb? It's really creepy.
I'll give you $5 if you take off the mask.
No, don't touch it.
I like money. Do it.
Don't do it.
YOLO. You're right. I do only live once.
No! That's what I'm worried about. You only live once, and that's your only life. So stay here and don't do her bit.
What you're saying is, if it kills me, I'll be dead. Just hear me out. Do it.
I'll do it! No, she doesn't. Where's my wallet?
Hey guys, welcome back. Let me tell you about what's happening with the city of Missoula. So this is time for your city council report. I'm Scott Ramp, and I'm here to tell you about what happened within the city. Public comment, Mark McMillan talks about the city park amended motion in terms of basically banning firearms in the city parks here in Missoula. So this is what he had to say about that and the conversation that may occur on October 16th.
Every citizen should be able to utilize their parks without being denied the ability to legally and effectively protect and defend themselves and others. Should a legally armed jogger or dog walker not be able to stop in their own park or sit on a park bench? For these reasons, city parks should be removed from this amendment. If parks are not removed, then at a minimum exempt concealed weapons permit holders. They are arguably the most law-abiding citizens and know the laws. They are not affecting the individuals uncomfortable at the sight of a weapon. If you are not prepared to protect or defend yourself, they very well could be your first responder. They've invested time and money in training and education, applied for the privilege, and the Sheriff's Department themselves has vetted them and issued their license. According to the latest statistics from the Crime Prevention Research Center, roughly 1 in 15 adults in the U.S. currently possesses one of these licenses. That's almost 7% of the population. I'd like to also point out that the definition of public assembly is rather confusing. I'd like you guys to look it over and try to make it more clear for the layperson. In conclusion, when Ms. Armstrong asked about opportunity to work on this amendment, Mr. von Lossberg announced that it can be worked on any time prior to adoption, but there were no plans to work on it until Monday, October 15th. I feel that waiting until the evening of the vote is counterproductive to efficiency, public participation, and could make the meeting go on for far more hours than necessary.
All right, so that was Mark McMillan giving his comments about the updated gun ordinance that will be talked about in public hearing on October 15th. You can also look for it also by logging on to the City of Missoula's website. I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But let's move on. So Mike Painter, he's also a board member here at MCAT, but he did a community forum report talking about all the communities and neighborhoods out of the city of Missoula. So here's a nice little report.
Despite the current political climate, North Side and West Side are getting along despite being literally on opposite sides of the tracks. Plus, Moose Can Gully and South 39th, it was reported to us, are dating. There are several things about the neighborhood council system that I think make for an improved civic dialogue and civic involvement. One, of course, is the work that Jane and Karen and squeaky new intern Marley Merchant, Laurel Locomotives Rule, are doing to involve our neighbors in discussing and working to improve our little town. And the other is the makeup of community forum. At September's meeting, we had pretty close to the entire normal curve of neighborhood council representative experience, from the grizzled, savvy vet Doug Grimm, who was here when Lewis and Clark came through saying, "I think the Upper Rattlesnake is really Missoula's best neighborhood," to Anna Mura, who I believe was attending her first community forum meeting as Heart of Missoula's representative. Ray Ayton and Painter spent the entire meeting muttering under our breath, "Well, things were different back in the last millennium when we started," and then pantomiming, making calls on a rotary dial phone. Presenters last week included Mike Haynes of Development Services, discussing the pending annexation of the airport, Industrial Park, and Canyon Creek. Well, apparently some of the airport property will become part of Captain John Mullen's Neighborhood Council. Mike was unwilling or unable to guarantee cheaper airfares for Anthony Joe and his neighbors. We also heard from Tom Zavitz and Garen Wally on UFTA's 10-year reunion. I assumed there would be Lutefisk and or LEPSA, but apparently UFTA in this connotation is an acronym and not an expression of bafflement, surprise, or dismay. Garen, by the way, had more stats and numbers than even Painter could jot down, so he is my new superhero of development services. Jane, Karen, and Marley reported on Sunday Streets, Stories and Stones, and upcoming community forum topics. Councilor West updated a community forum on recent city council actions, including the record-breaking budget adoption council meeting and recent decision regarding municipal court surcharges. I'd like to thank you all so much for what you are doing to represent your neighbors and to involve us in your work to improve our little town. Thank you.
All right, so that was Mike Painter. I just wanted to show that because I thought that was a really a nice overview. Erica Johnson, Cheryl Spotterwolf are bike ambassadors from Missoula in Motion and out of the city of Missoula, and they talked about some of the events that they put on, and I just kind of got a brief little tidbit of what they were talking about. Of course, the whole thing is about 5-6 minutes long, so I'm just going to give you a piece of it.
Bringing awareness of what safe riding habits are, and then realizing that there's places in and around Missoula that are big concerns that we try to post up or go park ourselves there and try to communicate with the community why they are designed that way to hopefully cut down on bike pedestrian accidents.
All right, so that was just kind of a brief quote from them as well. You can check them out. Many programs have been happening all summer long, which include outreach events and access to alternative transportation via bike ped. Gwen Jones talks about the League of Cities and Towns last week held in Butte, America. The City Council did not hold any committee meetings last Wednesday. They're not going to hold too many meetings this morning as well, but Gwen Jones talks about what she learned and how it's beneficial to learn from other cities and also teach other cities.
I spent 3 days going to all sorts of different seminars on different topics that applied to local government, along with talking to other people running municipalities across Montana. And it was fascinating. It was interesting. There's a lot of common problems that every municipality is having in terms of not having enough money and stretching their resources and wanting to always do more, but having to make some hard choices. So anyway, without going into a lot of detail, it was very valuable 3 days, and I think a lot of people on council that went to it got a lot out of it.
All right, so that was Gwen Jones talking about that. Also, I did want to do harp on Michelle Cares, because she came back to the city council meeting because she was on maternity leave, and she also mentions that she wanted to talk a little bit more about child care and child rearing as a professional woman.
While the U.S. takes great pride in our family values and speaks of them frequently, we are the only high-income country that does not offer a paid leave program. And yet we know that maternity leave is associated with lower infant mortality rates, receiving more one-on-one care. Infants are more likely to be breastfed, which lowers illness and hospitalization rates for infants and benefits women's health. Beyond these marked health advantages, paid maternity leave yields economic gains in terms of reduced healthcare costs, reduced recruitment and retention, and retraining and improved long-term earnings for women. I could go on, and many others have, but I wanted to take those few moments to raise awareness around this issue and say thank you for allowing me to take the absence that I did.
All right, so also Michelle Cares will be joining her other job a month from now. Of course, today, is committee meetings. They have public safety and health. They're doing a confirmation of officers Rachel Hoffman and Tyler Tobridge. They're going to be in their training period, which usually lasts for 6 months before they start going on patrol themselves and taking calls. Public Works is working to approve over $50,000 worth of storm drain and other construction projects. Both are slated around 10 a.m. this morning, and if you're watching this afternoon, you can watch it online by going on to ci.missoula.mt.us. This website is wonderful. This is where I get all of my information to do my city council report. And if you're interested in finding out more about MCAT, you can go to mcat.org, and you can learn all about everything that you need to know about Missoula. We basically document everything that Missoula is and Missoula does. If you are interested in having MCAT come on down and doing your organization, nonprofit, a rally, or cause, you can go to How Do I Request Event Recording, and it tells you the exact parameters of what you need to get us to go down and produce your rally, lecture, cause, all sorts of different things. Usually we work with local area nonprofits, profits, and civic groups as well. So just letting you guys know that, and if you're interested, just go to mcat.org for more information. But if you're interested in finding out more about my morning show, you can go to wakeupmissoula.wixsite.com/wakeupmissoula. So nice we made you write it out twice. You can see current episodes. You can see past videos by clicking onto the videos tab, and it'll bring you to the last episode with fun shorts from our Saturday drop-ins. Flagship Friday will be starting pretty soon. Dubbin Stuff. And speaking of Dubbin Stuff, we have a brand new Dubbin Stuff from the movie Creature of the Haunted Sea, or Creature from the Haunted Sea, from 1961's movie. So without further ado, here is Dubbin Stuff, and when I come back, I'm going to talk to you guys about the big read.
Peekaboo, I see you smoking again. You do know all the cool kids vape, don't you? Both of which will kill you equally. Because you ever seen somebody fill those little juice packets of those e-cigarettes? They need a mask for it all. I suppose. So when do you think this party's going to get started? Well, here's the thing about parties. They don't really start. They just kind of happen. Really? I don't think that's right. Have you ever been to the club before 11 p.m.? Mm-hmm. Well, nothing really happens until the herds start walking in. How do you figure? Well, the herds are considered the cheap alcoholics. I'm not following. Well, the young college kids who pregame before they go to the bars. Yeah? Well, think of it like this. They're all at home getting ready, looking pretty. Put makeup on. Oh, God. You guys are so full of it.
Well, liquor at home is cheaper than liquor at the bar.
Well, usually when I start at the house, I want to stay at the house, after a couple drinks.
Well, sometimes when I'm hanging out with the girls and they want to go out,
oh, yeah,
it sometimes works as motivation.
Or when you drink enough and you make stupid decisions like going out in the first place.
No thanks.
Can you pull the other boat into the other boat, please? Thank you. Have you ever kissed a guy with smoker's breath?
I don't believe I have. What's it like?
Well, it's menthol, so it's going to be extra delicious for your tasting pleasure.
Okay, I guess what could go wrong?
Me.
Nothing sexier than a man in a boat, and a cigarette, and a hat, and an open shirt, and many other things, like a striped shirt. Come here.
That's all, folks.
No!
Hurry, get the guns. Come on, boys. Let's shoot this thing. That'll work. That always works in horror movies. Come on, let's shoot the monster.
Help me down.
Bang, 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 bang. It's not working. Pull the trigger. Just hit it with the backs of your guns. Yeah. Oh! Watch out for my fingerless glove. Well, maybe the 50th time with my butt of my gun will work.
Row, row, row your boat. Row, row,
just shut up and row. Hurry.
Gently down the street.
Yeah, take that. Yeah. Whoa. Sup, dog? I'm gonna kill you now. Okay, I got it.
Eh? Oh, hero now.
Hold
on a second.
I'll
get you.
I'll see him.
Nope, got it.
There you go. There you go.
I must get out of here. Faster. Paddle faster.
Do you know where we're going?
Don't backstreet boat me. Just, come on. Let's get out of here. I think I lost him.
I don't think so, sailor boy. I'm coming for you.
Take that, or I could run. Get it? Or
I'm gonna tail you twice as fast now.
no. Oh.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Hey guys, welcome back. All right, let me tell you about a book. And as part of the big read, MCAT, along with many other organizations, are working with the Missoula Public Library to promote wizards. And not any kind of wizard, not Harry Potter wizards, mind you, but Earthsea. It's A Wizard of Earthsea. It's by Ursula K. Lagoon. Sorry, I'm horrible with names. And if you're horrible with names, this book is just right for you. All right, so anyways, I'm going to read a passage from this book right before I go on into. I got to work on my reading and wordplay. I'm going to read a passage, I'm just going to randomly open this book, and I'm just going to read from it for a fair paragraph or something like that. Just page 104. At once, Ged took his form and place again on the boat, for it was most perilous to keep the dragon shape longer than need demanded. His hands were black with the scalding worm blood, and he was scorched about the head with fire. But this was no matter now. He waited until only till he had his breath back, and he then called, 6 I have seen, 5 slain, 9 are told of. Come out, worms. So just a little Earthsea for you guys, and if you guys are interested in the Big Read, their launch party already happened on September 30th. MCAT's going to be doing an event on October 17th, which is a Thursday, next Thursday, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. And we're going to have all sorts of wizards and stuff. We're going to use the studio. We're going to have green screen. We're going to have kids play dress up. We also have some Lego wizard stuff as well if kids want to do some stop animation, make their inanimate objects come to life with the magic of computer magic. I don't know. I'm trying to sell it based on magic, even though we're mostly all technology based here at MCAT. But we're going to do this event pretty much from 4 to 6 roughly on Thursday, so you can bring your kid on down to MCAT around those times. You can find out more information on our Facebook page, along with Missoula Public Library's page for more information about the Big Read. And speaking of technology, if you're interested in learning about Macs, the Dickinson Lifelong Learning Center is learning the basics and usefulness of Mac OS, and they talk about how to use Macs, but they only ask that you are mouse and keyboard knowledgeable, because they don't want to be like, okay, hit the delete button. It was like, where's the delete button? It's like, this is why you shouldn't take this class. So it's mostly just like, if you know how to use a mouse, and you know how to point and click on certain things, and you know how to follow directions on a basic computer, then they'll teach you how to use Mac pretty easily. But if you're interested in something else, the Community Dispute Resolution Center is doing internet-based negotiation training. It's an 8-hour course designed to help participants become successful negotiators, deal with difficult people and hard bargainers, structure deals, and manage conflict productively. And that starts at the Community Dispute Resolution Center starting this morning, right now. And of course, the Big Read event, they're doing dragon painting from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. all day at the Missoula Public Library. It's a homecoming parade dragon. Come join in the fun at the large meeting room for October 1st through the 3rd, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So it's going to be happening today. It's going to be the last day to check it out. There's the Tiny Tales and Story Time. Tiny Tales is going to be hosted at Empower Place at the Missoula Food Bank, while Story Time is going to be at the Frenchtown Branch Library, and it all starts at 10:30 a.m. Black Hole Spectrum Discovery is doing a World Space Week by exploring the new exhibit Black Hole with the with W basically in parentheses from today until October 13th at the Discovery Bench. They will be investigating astrobiology and celebrating the work of Carl Sagan. This week in the makerspace is Goldilocks. Scrabble and Bridge at the Missoula Senior Center starting around noonish today. If you're interested, they always have lunch there at Missoula Senior Center, and you can check that out around noon. But of course, this afternoon, if you have a middle schooler, and when they're not too busy doing some part of the things with the Big Read, they have some writing improvement hangouts called Middle School Writers, and this is for groups age 6th grade to 9th grade. They also have Teen Writers group, which happens on Fridays as well. Kids Bounce and Play starting at 4 p.m. in Missoula Indoor Sports Arena. Missoula Indoor Sports Arena provides Missoula County and the surrounding areas with a first of the state-of-the-art indoor sports field. They also have an inflatable park consisting of large inflatable structures, and this happens from 4 to 7 p.m., and it's $7 per child. Riverfront general meeting. So if you are part of the Riverfront neighborhood, they're having a general meeting at Free Cycles starting at 5:30 p.m. If you're interested in more Missoula Public Library stuff, they have a whole bunch of events going into the night. Socrates Cafe is their prime spot for arguing and having lively debates about philosophy and more from 6 to 8 p.m. in the boardroom, which is on the quasi-second floor. It's not on the second floor with all the books, but it's like not on the first floor with a large meeting room, but it's on the somewhat halfway point, so floor 1.5, so you can check that out in their meeting room. The big read event is Spellcasters Anonymous, The Magic of Poetry, every Wednesday in October, except for Halloween, of course. They'll learn how you cast your own spells with a pottery workshop hosted by Emily Walter. Students will have opportunity to read their spells aloud at the final big read event. Classes on Monday instead of Wednesday during the week 3. Classes open from ages 18 and older. Registration begins on September 22nd. Online registration is required. You can probably ask to sign up. You can also call them at 721-BOOK, otherwise known as 721-2665. The Roxy Theater kicks off Horror Month with The Dead Zone starting at 8 p.m. Get out of here, fly. Tonight at 8 p.m. and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. they're going to have a horror-themed movie. Kicking off tonight is Christopher Walken's original movie, The Dead Zone, starring Martin Sheen, father of Charlie Sheen. You can check all that out, and he is also father of Emilio Estevez. Anyways, let's talk about some more stuff, and here's an art clip for you guys to check out as well. This is the Monster Project. Since we're getting into October, we get a chance to see your little monsters' art come to life with help from some of the bigger monsters. And that's our installation is at the Zootown Arts Community Center, and it'll only go on until October the 6th, which is Friday. Actually, Saturday, because today is the 3rd. That means the 5th is on Friday. So you have until this Saturday to check it all out, even though a lot of our installations usually get taken down pretty much the night before. It always seems to be that case. Is like if the art installation, the day the art installation ends is the day they take it down. So you want to check it out before October 6th. All right, let's talk about some events that are happening on Thursday. YMCA every Tuesday and Thursday from 9:30 to 12. They have family fun time. It's $22 for families. It's a good deal, especially if you have a very large family. Advanced Workplace Meditation Training, Community Dispute Resolution Center is doing all sorts of fun things happening, but this is a advanced workshop for meditation training, and it takes once of the foundations of meditation offered in January 2019 has been completed. This course focuses on creating peaceful work environments, building workplace agreements, and developing communication skills to reduce conflict. iPads and iPhones, Missoula Public Library, starting at noon tomorrow, they're learning about iPads and iPhones. Hey, if you would like to become more comfortable with these devices, you can register online at MissoulaPublicLibrary.org, or you can call them at 721-BOOK, otherwise known as 721-2665. And this is only an hour long. Cockroach Appreciation Week, Missoula Insectarium. Did you know cockroaches are actually very beneficial animals to the ecosystem? Of course not. There are always expectations to the rule, and some species of cockroaches may get a tad bit comfortable living in homes or businesses. Although most species of cockroaches don't actually live in the state of Montana because there's the concept of winter. A lot of times winter is not a good place for cockroaches to live, and so they live in forests and help break down the decomposed dead plants and animals. Join us as they learn all about the benefits of cockroaches in our lives and how very few species are pests. And of course, the Roxy Theater, I just wanted to tell a whole overview happening on Thursday night. This is the short block of the Roxy Theater Film Festival, all starting tomorrow. And it's the short blocks. These are all short films. And the first one is the conservationist. Woo! Wow, that was a mouthful. Trying to escape his complacency of an environmental disaster, a gifted economist retreats into an Eden town of his own making. But when a tyrannical energy conglomerate threatens to destroy paradise, he takes conservation to a murderous extreme. And that's the first movie that'll kick off. And then there's director Katanawanahi, Davery Jacobs. Today is Ray's 7th birthday, and she's excited for a party for her mom. And this is a movie, Easter, as promised to her, but as the day wears on, it becomes obvious that the promise has been derailed by personal demons. Another movie, it's 5 minutes long. It's going to be Believer, and it's a bodyguard under attack has to heed his own advice, and it's Montana made. War Paint is a young South LA black girl experiences a series of events that intersects racism and sexism during the 4th of July holiday. Another movie is called Right Hand, and found footage of an anthropologist travel to Nepal. Director in attendance is director Ian Karstens. He's a Montana made film, so I'm pretty sure he's from Montana, and he made this movie while travels in Nepal. Absolution is going to be a bond between a disabled Muslim father and his son is tested when love is pitted against religion. Mr. Talented is another movie inspired by true stories. Mr. Talented follows a space-obsessed photographer whose life and sanity unravels as he struggles to make a name for himself in the art world. Remission is a short film that explores the aftermath of trauma. Rainmaker is cut off from the spiritual and artistic ability. Kay searches for love and affirmation in the arms of a demonic entity. The Big Read event, and that pretty much concludes everything you need to know what happened for the short block number 1. A lot of short films, a lot of information I'm throwing at you guys, but it all starts at 5 p.m. at the Roxy Theater. And tomorrow night at 7 p.m., the Big Read event does Polson Public Library Taoism class, discussion on the themes of Taoism and balance of in a Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Lagoon in the North Lake County Library. And it starts east of Polson. It's in the library, and it's at First Avenue East, and it's from 7 to 8:30 p.m. George Catlin, first artist in the Missouri River. So this one is pretty interesting because this is a artist that went with Captain William Clark. When he went up there, he took the trip more than a couple times. The Lewis of Clark was like the first big deal for scouting out the area, but William Clark took George Catlin, the first artist up the Missouri River, and Catlin began his journey in 1830 when he accompanied General Washington on a diplomatic mission up the Mississippi River into Native American territory. And of course, if you want to learn more about that, you can check all that out at the Lolo Community Center tonight at 7 p.m. But if tomorrow night at 7 p.m., sorry, we're talking about Thursday. Also Thursday night, they have a comedy night every first Thursday of the month. There's the homegrown comedy night, so they're looking for, it's an open mic comedy night. You sign up around 9, and the first comic steps on stage around 9:30 p.m. So those are some of your events and more. But of course, if you want the more, you can go to MissoulaEvents.net. MissoulaEvents.net is your local resource for everything what's happening in Missoula. Hey, what's happening in Missoula? This is what you should check out if you want to know what's happening in Missoula. But of course, a person can only find out something to do on their own merit, but this is for some of the people who are just like, I don't know what to do. This is just an example. And I just gave you a nice brief run over of some of the events that are happening, some of the things that you guys can get involved with. So once again, I want to thank you guys. The Big Read is all happening all month long, and it is tailored to Earthsea. Check it all out. It's definitely one of the local, not really local, but I would say the United States wizarding world. So you can check all that out at a fantasy world, and it's going to be fun. Every year there's a theme. And this year it's Earthsea. So you can check all that out. You can learn more about the Big Read by going to Missoula Public Library or MissoulaReads.com. So thank you guys for joining me and for Wake Up Missoula. I'm Skyramp. I hope you have a wonderful couple days. It's the middle of the week. We're just getting started, and I'll see you Friday.